guys. In this lesson video, I'm going to be talking about how to comment and document your code. And with this, I created a Python file that basically goes through a Python dictionary. So essentially a bunch of key value pairs. So if you remember from the dictionary or a Python data types video, we discussed this. So essentially what a Python dictionary is a collection of these key value pairs. So the keys and values can be of different types or the same types. For example, in this one I did inventory fridge, apple, and then a number. So a string for the key and integer for the value. And then down here I have three functions that I created with some documentation and proper commenting to basically show how much more readable it makes functions and easier for people in the future who have to possibly read, modify, edit, and improve your code. And they get called down here as well. So we see the inventory here in this dictionary, and you can see that this is an example of just unnecessary and non-useful comment. So in the future, when using dictionary, it could be helpful to explicitly say what each key value pair does, but here it's almost self-explanatory how this dictionary has been set up. You have a fruit and its string name on the left, and you have the amount in the fridge on the right, so that's not needed. So now we're going to look at the three functions down below. A common pattern you might see is that after a function has been declared, so in this case def elems in fridge, and then the input, you can see that we have a one line, three quotation marks on the front and three quotation marks at the back, and a simple sentence that basically explains what this function does. So I want you guys to get in this great habit of just automatically documenting and commenting your code in this way with the three quotation marks. Just a one line explaining what your function does. So what inputs it takes, what you hope to do with it. So in this first function, I basically take in a dictionary and then print out its key and elements. So this is one of the functions that you'll see for dictionary types. Dot items. You can also have dot keys, dot values. When you do dot items on a dictionary, it's essentially you get both the key and value. So you can see here I have an acronym version of key and value, but they can be named anything. And then here I have a print statement, key, then a string format, and then it basically interpolate or input that key on this part right here. And for the value, same thing. You inject it or input it with this modulus or percentage sign s right here. So if you look at the second function, take single item from fridge. This is another good habit. I know it seems a little long. You don't have to do it as long function names as this, but if you just be declarative and explicit about how you do your function names and variable names, it makes it a lot more simple to read this code in the future instead of having something that's just an acronym that you kind of take a while to kind of dispel the confusion and understand what it means. This might not, since this is kind of like standard practice, a lot of people know what K and V equal, but for some people who are not used to Python, they might not understand what these mean. So that's assumption that I made being experienced, but it might not be as empathetic for beginner Python programmers. So if you can be explicit like with function names or variable names, it's a lot better. So if you look at here, food name, that's very explicit in inventory fridge. That's just something that you can easily do. So again, we see in this line 16, it explicitly says what the function does. Function takes in food name and subtracts it from inventory. So it just automatically, whoever's reading your code knows exactly what you're doing. For this third function, function takes food and amount and updates the fridge inventory. So that is explicit as well. And you can see here we have single line comments. So with these three open quotation marks, those are multi-line comments. We're just doing a single line, but it'll help when you're doing automatic documentation later, which we'll explain in a future video. But if you just want to do simple single line comments, you can essentially do them with a pound or hashtag symbol, and then just write explaining what your code does. So right here, I just want to explain some more things. Again, remember in dictionaries, lists and arrays, or list or arrays, you can do the in operator. to see if an element is in there. So not in, so it's not in there. So if in this function it takes a food name, if it's not in there, that means that there's no amount of um, that food in there, so you can't take that item. So we raise an exception. So this is a nice little nifty thing you can do with your Python code. If you anticipate an error, you can use this raise exception keyword and then add whatever string you want, and basically it helps provide very explicit reason why an error happened to your end user and developers as well. So it just makes it easier to debug your code as well. So that's another way you can document and comment your code, by just providing very well thought out error statements like this. So for example, if a mango was not in there, mango is not in fridge, or no more or left. And then right here we just have if the food is in the fridge, then you can subtract 1 from it, because we are only taking a single item from the fridge. So put item from fridge. That's probably not the right way to word it. So I'm going to put into, and then remember I have to change it into here. So I'm just change this function so it runs properly. And essentially the same thing. Single line explains what it does. We take a food and the amount of that food and update the fridge inventory. And the reason I added this commentary or comments right here is to explain what I'm doing. So the food is not in the fridge, I want to set that value, and if it is, then just update the current food amount. So we just have that shorthand addition operator, and then if the food's not in there, you basically just set it into the dictionary. So that's just a simple way you can comment your code. If I were to look at this maybe a couple weeks later or months later, I could quickly understand what I was trying to do here. And then these are just the function calls. So you see exactly what this does. So I take a single item from mango from the fridge. We have mango 2, so that should show 1. We put in cherries. It's not in there, so we should see cherry food item there. An apple we add 2, so we should see 8. So 8, 1, paella, pizza, and then cherry should be 20 there. And if we run this, you can see we have everything updated. And if we were to look at this code, it's well commented. So I just wanted to show this video of the power of coding, just getting great habits of coding things that might lead to some ambiguity to help your teammates and yourself when you reread that code. Because with code, reading code is one of the most important principles and skills you can develop. If you can read code, it's so much easier to write efficient and quality software. So make sure you get in the habit of commenting often. So in the middle of your code, like within your functions, commenting that out. But also, always when you write a function, create that one-liner explaining what your function does. Again, it's going to make everything more readable. And as we know, being able to read code is very important for you and your teammates. Thanks, guys.